Hey everybody, this is Brian Raisin coming at you live from one of my favorite rooms on campus. I'm in the RPAC, the Rec Center for the students. It's kind of hard to see. It's like all glass inside. I don't know if this is really helping because of the way the lighting is, but outside right around the corner is the stadium. It's got this amazing view out over the practice fields and the med center, and Ag Campus is just that way, not too far at all. And so what a perfect place to talk about teaching. That's what I want to talk about today. So let's jump in. This is a 4-part series. I've got a ton to cover. So I'm basically going to fly through it like crazy fast. So let's just jump in. If we were in person, the first thing I would do, or if we were online, I would do an unofficial start. I would ask my audience to engage their brains a little bit and to think about their favorite food. Then I would say, okay, once you get a picture, think about why it's your favorite food. What's the story behind that? When did you begin loving it? Who does it remind you of? You see, I'm starting to paint a picture now. I'm thinking about my grandmother and the things she used to bake. So I can only imagine what you guys are thinking of. Now, if we were online, I would say in the chat box or in the room, I would just say share. Let us know the story behind what your favorite food is and the story behind it. The why. It's a powerful thing. What this exercise does, well, actually we would listen, and then I would say, okay, what strikes you about the responses? What stands out? How might you summarize the comments that you just heard? And as I just started to mention, I got ahead of myself. You're going to hear memories, family, joy, togetherness, because food is really meaningful. It connects us and it gives context within which we remember and partake of that food. And so so think about this, is your favorite food as good when you're eating it alone? Oh, it maybe doesn't have quite the same flavor, does it? Okay, before we start, let's just talk about what just happened. How did I begin to talk? Well, I started by introducing the room, but if I were there in real life, I wouldn't say, let's wait 3 more minutes, on a Zoom. We've all heard that. I didn't have a title slide. I wouldn't introduce myself. Instead, I made a connection. The connection part is critical. And that's mostly what I'm going to be talking about through these 4 quick videos. So today, the overall aim is to go back to some of the basics, because I want to think about professional or non-formal teaching. We do formal teaching in classrooms. I'm going to have students here in about a half an hour. We also do a lot of informal teaching, which is not structured, but non-formal is that in between where we have the lesson plan, we have objectives that we've decided upon, but maybe it's not in a formal classroom setting. But regardless of where you're delivering or who you're delivering to, and I'll talk about this in a minute, I want to get back to the basics and to remember what really matters most when we're teaching. So first, objectives. Know your audience. Who's in your class? I want to talk about context, casual or formal register. I'm wearing short sleeves today. It's nice out. Weather's warming up. How do you engage learners? VARK. When was the last time you thought about your VARK, the visual, auditory, readers, or kinesthetic learners? Recognizing smarts, different ways of thinking, the way people connect, and then connecting before presenting content. So situational learning, situating your subject matter in the context. And lastly, some exercises and some engaging questions. So let's jump in. That's a bunch. Real objective, though, to remind ourselves to consider who our audiences are and to remember to connect first, whether we're online, in person, or very likely hybrid situations, which we're going to be seeing more of as we advance past post-COVID, post-pandemic. So if we were in person, these classes are going to be returning. But, I just said this, online hybrid teaching will continue. So what do we need to do? Connect first. So what does connecting do? It helps your audience create a story in their minds. This works with young people, this works with adults. And I'll talk pedagogy and andragogy in the 2nd or 3rd series on this. We engage the brains at a higher level. We get awoken by the stories. They help us to connect to each other. And then that connection allows for greater engagement and learning, which is generally our objective, is to make those lessons that we're teaching meaningful and to make them last and to stick around. So who's in your class? Are you talking with the local officials, elected folks? Are you talking with funders for your nonprofit? Are you talking with youth groups, colleagues, and yet another mandatory training? Oh, man. Where are they? Are you in a formal classroom or kind of an informal classroom, like here at the Recplex on the Columbus campus at Ohio State? Are you in a community center, church basement? Are you outside? I love to teach outside. It's really fun. And I know my master gardener friends do that all the time, and ag educators as well. Youth too, at fairgrounds and camps. So depending on that, make you register, match your audience. This is really basic. But we need to pause for a second and deliberately design the program and then deliver in that same context. We don't always do that because we just get busy. We kind of have it in the back of our minds, but when we're deliberate, we can be better. We can improve our delivery. So VARC really quick. And again, this is a review for most of you guys are experienced educators, but it's good to just remember that we have the visual folks. So give them the handouts, get the whiteboards and let them draw and doodle. The auditory, they're really listening, not necessarily favoring reading at all. They want to connect and repeat things back to you and have a dialogue or a discussion. So invoking those group discussions can really help ping those people. Videos or music can be helpful for them as well. Your readers or writers, connect with them by assigning written essays, doing research, reading books. Give these students a little more time. And then the kinesthetic, this is 4-H all day long, hands-on, learn by doing, experiencing, acting out, getting them moving around, pacing for memorization. Again, whiteboards can really connect with these students as well. Again, basic stuff, but I like to pause and remind myself when I'm getting ready to go into a class, regardless of age, because it's really helpful. 8 smarts, I love this. Kathy Cook, I was like, who is this? She kind of took Gardner multiple intelligences theory out of Harvard, 1984, I don't remember, and put it into pretty simple language, which I really like. So when I talk with students, when I'm coaching and mentoring in particular, and I'll have somebody say, and I'm sure maybe you said this about yourself, I certainly have said, I'm not number smart or logic smart. I'm not word smart. And so it's good to think about as you're presenting information that people will hear it and interpret it and filter it in different ways. So I'll let you look at that again. You can go back and take the time or read a little bit more on it. But again, I'm just helping you situate and think about audiences before you begin teaching. So even before connecting, who was in your meeting? I love this. I stole this from Chad Littlefield. I love the guy. I don't know him, but I follow a lot of his work because he has really good stuff. And I heard him speak at a conference a few years ago and I've been following him since. But basically he says you've got your contributors, your consumers, and your critics. So, and oh yeah, you've been all three, haven't you? So does your agenda or your lesson plan allow the people to be contributors? How do you move the consumer or the critic to a contributor? And I've outlined a few ideas that I kind of brainstormed out as I was thinking through this, read a little bit. Don't just present information, get interactive with your agenda. If you're online, use the breakout rooms. Yes, I know you have to present data and that's cool, but ask your students how they view or use the information. There's a co-creation of knowledge that way. You're inviting them in, and I'll talk more about this as well. Interaction is key. Engagement, again, connect before content. I'm going to give you some tips on that, some analog ideas here in just a few minutes. And then asking questions, really good engaging questions can make a world of difference. Make it meaningful to them, ask how, invite them to tell you what's meaningful, and again, co-creating that lesson plan. So let's talk about really quickly improving all three situations. How do we improve our teaching and our engagement, which is critical for learning in all three situations? The techniques overlap, but we'll just talk about them kind of in general. So look at this. I'm actually in the room where I took this picture with a few students. This was a hybrid class, and I'll just note these are most difficult because you've got some students zooming in, you've got others in class, and if you see, I've got a screen that I've dropped right over here, and the other students, the other 4 are zooming into that class. This is, I think, 2 weeks ago. And so coordinating the microphones, the cameras is all really important so that you make sure you include everybody in the lesson. But still, let's jump in and talk about some tips for audience connections. How can you create or encourage or enable this environment that's engaging? Three tips: frame experiments versus activities. So a lot of times you say, let's do an icebreaker. When I work with adults, they all roll their eyes in the back of their head and say, please don't make us take off our shoes. I hate icebreakers, but you can do some fun things. And if you frame it as an experiment or an exercise, it's much more palatable. I did this with a group of engineers. They were working on a multi-million-dollar grant projects, 3 full days over at the Blackwell Center across campus here. OSU Engineering and outside partners from industry. We literally did 4-H camp games, but I framed it as an experiment to warm our brains up, and they absolutely engaged. They loved it. They laughed, and they started filling up flip charts. This was 2 or 3 years ago now, I think. With information and with data and organizing that, they were completely alive. It was so engaging. But if I would have said icebreaker, in fact, the chair of the department or the lead of this group said, just don't do icebreakers. He said, my people just, you get it. Anyway, key points. The activity should relate to your purpose, and they should help people connect to each other. So just a little background on that. Here are a couple more that I'll just fly through really quickly. The unofficial start. That was kind of what I did today. Now I started showing you the room because I'm filming this, but in person, I would have started, or even online, with what's your favorite food? That one slide that was up there with the food, and why is it your favorite food? Just gets people engaging with. Find an object that describes something. Play music. Ask for your audience what their favorite song is. Connection before content. Do a 1-word chat. Just type 1 word describing how you're feeling right now. You're humanizing the course. In person, we do this automatically. We have to be deliberate when we're online. Some other things for connection before content, for connecting. What's something life's teaching you right now? Powerful question. What's taking up lots of your brain space? Different way of asking it. Or a really engaging one is, what brought you joy this week? You can really get to people and have them connect when they talk about that, because some neat things come out. Then the critical part, the breakdown. What struck you once you've listened and people have spoken? Then ask the kind of the overall question, what struck you about this? And because then they assimilate and they put it together and they think big picture wise, kind of meta level thinking. And that helps to cement and situate, again, the start of the lesson. Scavenger hunt, whether you're online or in person. Who's got something in their camera shot? Go outside, take a picture on your phone, bring it in and show it to us, or rename yourself. All these things are things that you can do. Get out of your bubble, go to the kitchen, grab your favorite food. You're moving people around, you're getting their blood flowing. It's really powerful stuff. Ideas for fun, have them share online videos, funny clips, Saturday Night Live or Big Bang Theory, whatever. Ask your students to submit. Oh, in Arabic, I'm like, why Arabic? Sorry, I modified this for the American University of Cairo. I was doing a workshop for them last week. So you can do it in Arabic. Yeah, sure, students. Adapt in-person games to online. Ask colleagues what they've done that worked. There's, green acres. If we were in person, I would say, let's do a breakout. What engages you when you're participating? So what engages you? So we could share, because I like to learn from my students. This is just a video of a class, so I'll not be able to do that today. And then you break down that sharing after people have done it. You ask again, what struck you about that? So take a break, desk stretch. We've been sitting here for a while. Next video up is going to be on strategies to become more engaging instructor, talking about vulnerability, transparency, helping your students feel safe. And so that's it for this first one. Thank you so much. I'll stop sharing and stop recording and see you the next one.